namely that God governs all things, including the rise and extent of evil, is to look at the verses in the Bible that describe the death of the Son of God for sin before the world was created. I have 5 written down here. Let me read you one of them. This is Revelation 13:8. John says, referring to those who worship the beast, everyone whose name has not been written before the foundation of the world in the book of the life of the Lamb who was slain. Staggering, that verse. Not that there's writing and not writing, but that there's a book before the foundation of the world with a name. And the name of the book before Adam was created is the book of the life of the Lamb who was slain. That's the name of the book before creation. That's massive. Jesus was not an afterthought to the fall. God planned to magnify the mercy and grace and patience and kindness and goodness and wrath and justice of His Son before Adam ever existed. Through the cross, which was because of sin, which means that the plan included sin. Without God being the least sinful, and with all sinners being totally guilty in God's inscrutable ways. Oh, how deep is the wisdom of God. How unsearchable are His ways. How inscrutable are His judgments. Who has known the mind of the Lord? Or who has been His counselor? Or who has ever given a gift to Him that He should be repaid? For from Him and through Him and to Him are all things. To Him be glory forever. Do not presume to figure God out totally. Just read this book and believe it all. One of the reasons I stress this third reason for the series is that wimpy worldviews produce wimpy Christians. And wimpy Christians will not survive the days that are coming. It would be piece of cake to pastor a church and produce wimpy Christians. Just constantly coddle you. Just do a little survey every week about what you want to hear and then tell you what you want. Producing wimpy Christians is easy. You can make money at it. You can get a big church. That's not what I'm called to do. I want to produce Christians who stand in the last day. I don't know if you see the world the way I see it these days. Flooding. There will be floods. Minnesota to North Korea. Forest fires from California to Greece. Pestilence. You know what that old word means? It means East Asian bird flu. That's what it means. It means West Nile virus. That's what it means. From Canada to Germany. Terrorism. From New York to Hyderabad yesterday. This is a strange world we live in. This is a dangerous place, and becoming increasingly tense. Wimpy Christians won't last. And wimpy worldviews produce wimpy Christians. And so in this series, just 7 weeks, I want to lift up a reality, a biblical reality that just hits us in the face, spectacular sins and their global purpose in the glory of Christ. I want Christ to be massive for you. Not just massive in the sweet, easy times. Not just massive because He's warm and cuddly, but massive because He triumphs over all evil. And nothing takes Him off guard. So let's focus for a few minutes on Romans 5, verses 12 to 21. There are 5 explicit references to Christ in these verses. 7 years ago, in the summer of the year 2000, I preached 5 messages on this paragraph on our way through Romans. It took us 8 years to get through Romans. You can see why. 5 sermons on 1 paragraph. They're all online, desiringgod.org. You can read them, which means I feel a freedom here to tackle this paragraph from a peculiar angle. One angle, not every angle. Leave out a lot of things. And here's the angle. I want to look at this text to see how the fall of Adam and all the horror that came from it. I was just reading through a calendar this morning. I have a prayer calendar on China. Did you know that in 1934, the Yellow River flooded in China and 1 million people died? And I think it was 8 years later, the dam that they built in response to that collapsed and 900,000 people died. I only paused to mention that so that you know I'm aware that when I say the misery unleashed from Adam's sin, I don't mean small things. History is a conveyor belt of corpses because of Adam's sin. And I want to look at this text to see how God is thinking about that and how He is putting Christ in relationship to Adam and that horror that was unleashed by Adam's fall and sin. Because I believe the point of this text is to say that God was not taken off guard by Adam's sin, and that Christ and His relationship to Adam is designed by God to magnify His glory in this fallen world. So that's where we're going. There are 5 references to Christ. The first one sets up how Paul thinks about the relationship between Adam and Christ. Let's read verses 12 through 14, and you will see this in verse 14. Therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, and so death spread to all because all sinned. For sin was indeed in the world before the law was given, before Moses, in other words. But sin is not counted where there's no law. Yet, death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over those whose sinning was not like the transgression of Adam, who was a type of the one who was to come. Now there is Paul's setup. How shall we think about Adam and Christ? Answer, type and typified. The type pointing. Adam the type, Christ the one of whom He is a type. That's the way Paul's thinking. He wants us to join him in that for a reason. Because if we understand what he does in the remaining verses, we will glorify Christ as like